I need my keys. I need my keys. Things are looking It's okay. Thanks.
That is crap.
There are no more classes coming in, but I think this may be about it. Of course, all of you know why you're here, and I'm really excited about this. And I wanted to thank, most of you know her as Miss Cheek at Hickory Flat Elementary School, Miss Chris Johnson. This is her dad. And in case you are uninitiated, Mr. Ernie Johnson Senior was a pitcher for the Milwaukee Braves in the 50s and played around the Major League and was an announcer for the Atlanta Braves for many, many, many years. And he is here to tell you a little bit about himself, and he wants you to ask lots of questions. So if you've got any questions about baseball, any kind of baseball, or broadcasting, or anything like that, I'm sure he would love to answer anything that you want to ask. So here comes another class. So we'll wait on them to get on in here. Well, without any further delay, here is Mr. Ernie Johnson Senior.
Thank you, Gerald. Good afternoon, everybody. And have your questions. I'm not going to speak for an hour, so have your questions. I do have a few things I I would like to say, number one, we won last night.
Yeah.
So all even going into San Francisco, and they play tomorrow afternoon. And I think the Braves' chances are, well, that was a must game. They had to win last night, or they're in deep, deep trouble, just like Arizona is in trouble now because they have lost twice to the Cardinals. A lot of you just think all I did was broadcast for 35 years, but I was a player, and you need help as you move along in life, and I had big help from my high school baseball coach. I was a senior in high school. He called me up to his desk during study hall and said, "I'm going to get you a tryout with the Boston Red Sox." I was wondering where he went for lunch, you know. What's wrong with this guy? But he said, "I can do it." So he got me a tryout with the Red Sox, and they said, "You're too skinny, so you better go home and play semi-pro ball." Then he said, "Well, let's go over to the Boston Braves." We went over there, and they signed me. There were no drafts at that time. There were very few scouts in Vermont. I was from a small town in Vermont, very smaller than Canton. Probably had 85 in our graduating class and 500 in the whole school. But we went over to the Braves, and they signed me to a contract in minor league, and then the war came, and I went in the Marine Corps for 3 years. And I'm ever grateful for Ranger Getty for getting me into baseball. I wouldn't be here if it hadn't been for him. 5 years in the minors, 9 years in the majors. My title most of the time in the majors was middle relief pitcher. Isn't that a glamorous title? The middle relief pitcher. You can't start, you can't finish. You pitch in the middle. I took more showers alone than anybody in the National League. It was really, you know, today they call them set up men and things of that nature. But in the middle relief, if I went in the third inning and I could get them out, I stayed in the whole ball game. But I never was a star. I hit 2 home runs in 17 years. One of those was in high school. And the other came in the Polo Grounds in New York and went 250 feet, and down the left field side. So there was no one ever asking me how to hit. But I never could become a star. I was always kind of, you know, on the edge, you know, 11th man or 10th man on a 10-man staff. And I always wanted to be a star, and I played with some guys that were really stars. We as the Milwaukee Braves, beat the Yankees in 1957, 45 years ago. We beat them 4-3. I lost 1 game. And the ball that Hank Bauer hit a home run off me, hit the foul pole in left field, and someone says it's a cheap home run as it bent the pole. You know, it was really a well-hit ball. But I could never attain stardom as a bowler. I was always just kind of one of the guys. And one story will verify that. I'm outside of Ebbets Field. That's where the Brooklyn Dodgers used to play. They moved to Los Angeles. I'm outside of the stadium with Eddie Matthews and Hank Aaron, both Hall of Famers. The kids are climbing all over these 2 guys. I'm standing right there beside them. They're right there. The kids are all over them for autographs. They're signing autographs, and no one's coming over by me. Finally, Matthews said, "Hey, why don't you ask Ernie for his autograph? He'll be a star someday." The kid said, "We'll wait." Out of the mouths of kids, "We'll wait." And then I gave up a home run to Ted Williams as a rookie in 1950. I gave up a home run to Ted Williams, a great Ted Williams. Won the game. The game is over. We're walking down the runway, and the manager comes up. I know what he's trying to tell me. What is it? Hands on my shoulder and said, "Don't worry, kid. He's hit him off better pitchers than you." You know, you just gotta shake your head at those things. And when they happen, it became funny later on in life. Broadcasting, got into it because of a lady in Milwaukee. Got released by the Cleveland Indians, went to Milwaukee. The phone rang about the first day there, and this lady, Rita Godkin, I'll be ever grateful to her. If it hadn't been for my high school coach getting into baseball, and Rita Godkin getting me into broadcasting, I don't know what I'd be doing. But anyway, she called and said, "We got a program called Play Ball. You've been on it. We want an ex-ball player to moderate this program." What it was 3 people plus a moderator, and Saturday night, live TV most of the time, and you just discuss baseball. You throw out questions, have discussion with baseball. I said, "Rita, I have never done TV." Not like starting at the top. I have never done TV. She said, you can do it, come on down and we'll have an audition. I auditioned a secretary who knew a lot about baseball, and when it was over, she said, see, nothing to it. All you gotta do is ask questions and they'll answer. And I was so bad. I really was bad. They said there were 3 people that were guests. And I was a moderator, and we opened up the show. Sweetheart Lois, we've been married 55 years. She really helped me with my grammar too, because I didn't go to college. Every time I come home from a broadcast and say the wrong word, she'd say, Ernie, it's a nice game, but, you know, and then she'd correct me. And that's how I learned. And Chris, who's great in the, very knowledgeable in grammar too, would also correct. But that's what you need. But anyway, Lois, we got some cue cards, and this is how bad I was. She got cue cards, and she made them up like this, and they put them right back by the cameraman, and he held them up, or stagehand held them up, the cards, and they would be along the lines of, and you could just see me reading. I was like, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Play Ball. I'm Ernie Johnson. We even had that, I'm Ernie Johnson down there. It was so, that is really bad. But after, they stayed with me, and I got to do it another Saturday, did it for 2 years, and then the Braves called one day and said they needed some help as a third man, and could you come over and would you be interested? And that's how it all started. 1 year in Milwaukee and 34 years in Atlanta. I get a lot of questions about how to get into this business, and I don't have to relate that story, but if you want to get into broadcasting or any field, I mean, it takes a lot of study. It takes, we were talking right here about the University of Georgia. That's who I recommend. If you want to be in the broadcasting business, University of Georgia's got a great program. They got their own radio station. They got their own TV station. That's where young Ernie went. He's right now with the Turner. He's been with Turner for 10 or 12 years. But you got to remember that when you get into the broadcasting field, it's like being a ball player. You start down in a small community. You just don't finish Georgia and call WSB and say, I'm ready to go on WSB in a major market. You usually got to start, I'll just use Ernie as an example. Young Ernie, he graduated Georgia, worked radio in Athens, worked radio in Rome, and then got a chance to work TV in Macon, then work TV in Spartanburg. So that's the way you do it. You work your way up. And there's no guarantee, just like in baseball, you've got to go from the small market to the bigger market. My wife was at a big banquet once, and she met a gentleman from Germany, and she said, what do the teenagers do in Germany? And about school. And he said, it's very simple. And I have a lot of respect for the German knowledge. I mean, there's some smart people. I'm glad in the Second World War that we got to them and when we did, because they were ahead of us with some of their buzz bombs and things of this nature. But he said, the kids either go to college, but he said, not everyone's college timber, not everyone wants to go to college, or they go to a trade school. And I thought that wrapped it up. You go to college or to a trade school, and you learn a trade. Then what happens is that you're doing something you like to do. My dad often said, and he worked 40 years in an organ factory as a cabinet maker, and I asked him one day, aren't you tired of working and doing that? He said, I love my job. He was fine finisher for the SD organ, pipe organs, and he just loved to do it. And he used to say, if you don't like your job, you're in trouble. So get into something that you really like to do. And it doesn't necessarily mean you got to go to college. There are some trades that you can get into, but if you can go to college, I think it might be a little bit better, but it's not that easy. Right now, we're talking about Georgia, right? It's not that easy to get in Georgia today as it was, say, 15 or 20 years ago. On the public speaking, and a lot of you take public speaking from the boss there. There's something about public speaking. I knew an insurance agent that could sell as much insurance as anybody in the country. And one day he was asked to get up in front of 50 people and give a speech. And he was sweating. His hands were clammy. He had an awful time. He was so scared. He said, I don't know. He said, I can't do it. And they have Dale Carnegie. I think Dale Carnegie has courses where you can learn how to get up in front of some people and talk. and it's not easy for everybody. There are certain things that used to get me in broadcasting, and one was a 60-second commercial. Can you imagine that? A 60-second commercial drove me crazy. I used to do 30 seconds, this is a radio commercial. I could do it quite well, if I might brag. But as soon as they stretched it out, I used to ask the sponsor, is it a 30 or is it a 60? If he said 30, I said, oh, that's great. If he said 60, I started sweating right away. Because do this, if you want an example, do when you get home and you've got 60 seconds of copy, start a watch or look at the clock and just read this perfectly for 60 seconds. I guarantee it's going to take quite a while, because the guy that's usually running the show, he works for the sponsor, and if you just fluff it a little bit, he said, do it again, do it again. And when I got past the 30, I was okay for 30. When it got toward 45 seconds, I'd say, please, don't screw up now. Don't miss it. And it became a real problem with me mentally. And so I had an awful problem with the 60-second commercials. I have touched on just about everything. We might have some questions. I hope you do. But broadcasting is a great business to get into. You need, actually, broadcasters probably are all pretty good public speakers. Get into something that you really like, and it'll have its rewards. But count on somebody helping you. There are people that you can go to and ask for help, and they'd be happy to help you. Now, we got some questions. I thought we'd have a, okay. Most memorable moment as a broadcaster. I guess some of the most memorable moments when I could say when Hank Aaron is at the plate, there's a drive way back, that ball is out of here. Aaron just hit number 500, 500, 600, 700, and 714. I was on the air when he hit those home runs. I used to go up to Hank and say, how come you, thanks a lot, I appreciate it, but you hit all those big home runs. He said, we're just buddies, Ernie. But those big home runs were the highlight, perhaps, of my broadcasting career, but also broadcasting for the 69 team and the 82 team and all these teams in the 90s that won. Those are highlights, too, and things never to be forgotten. But there are so many. There are some up moments, there are some down moments. And sometimes when you say the wrong word, and it just, you can't take it back. I've often said to a writer, I said, you've got an eraser, haven't you? But a broadcaster does not. Once it's out there, and you can't do anything about it. Any more questions? Right.
Did you ever make any of the players mad?
Oh yeah, I made players mad. Oh, yeah, I remember Jimmy Wynn was really an outfielder and hit a lot of home runs. We got him for the Dodgers, and he got mad at me because he was at second base in a ball game, and there's a ground ball to third, a ground ball to short, and he tried to go to third, and shortstop threw to third, tagged him out. Yeah. So it didn't take much to get him mad, because all I said, well, Wynn is out of third, and that's bad, that's poor base running. And that's about all I did. I didn't harp on it, dwell on it. Next day I saw him in the clubhouse, and he said, heard you got on me last night. I said, well, wasn't it bad base running? He said, yeah, but that was the end of it. But it was, it's very easy to slight somebody or say something that you wish you hadn't said. But I think one of the things about broadcasting, you've got to be honest. And I even said this on the air. I said, I'm for the Braves. Everybody in the world knows I'm for the Braves. I hope they win this ballgame. But I'm going to give credit in all our broadcasts. They hope the Braves win. And they can even say it. But you want to give credit, full credit, to the other team. And sometimes I've gotten letters saying you're giving too much credit to the other team. So it's not an easy way to explain it, but it kind of balances out. It's some players won't say anything, but they might walk by you if they're unhappy with what you said. They might walk by you and not even say anything to you, so you kind of know that they're a little upset. Now, Dusty Baker is one of the few players He manages the San Francisco Giants, and he's been a good manager. And about 2 or 3 years ago, we passed him in a tunnel, and Pete Van Wieren and myself, and he stopped and said, "I'll tell you guys, I want to thank you for all the nice things you said about me." Well, okay, Doug, that's great. Very, very seldom does that happen, but he did. And it's you can't get into this business though looking for compliments. You can't. It's not that way. You can look at it from a standpoint that you're going to catch some flack. And when these young broadcasters ask me about being in broadcasting, I said, well, get into it and make some tapes and practice and practice and practice. Make some tapes and practice. And please don't go ask your mom and dad and your brother how good you are, because they're always going to say, "Yeah, you're sounding great." You're just go to some impartial person and say, "Will you take a look at this tape or listen to this tape and give me your opinion as to whether I've got a chance." Some people don't have a chance from the start because their voice isn't quite there. But you can develop your voice too. But if your voice is halfway decent, I think it's just a matter of practice before you can get into the business. And it's a hazardous business. It's a hazard. You sign contracts, and when you sign contracts and it's up after 3 years or 4 years, they gotta want to re-sign you. That's one of the things that I liked about the fact that I never had a contract with Ted Turner. I just worked year to year, and one day I went up to him and I said, "Ted, I like a contract." And he said, "What do you want a contract for? I don't like contracts." And I said, "Well, everyone seems to be getting contracts now." This is late in my career. "Everyone seems to be getting contracts, so I think that I should have a contract like everybody else." He said, "Ernie," he said, I'll take it. As long as I own the ball club, you can broadcast." Is that okay? I said, "Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's perfect. That's perfect. I'll take that." And that's the way it was with Ted Turner. But today, most everyone has a contract, but you do have to renew. Question? Come on.
How did you feel about the strike on
The strike would, if there had been a strike, baseball strike, it would have been the worst thing that ever happened to baseball. I think baseball right now, if there had been a strike and they canceled the World Series and playoffs and the whole business, I'm a little like Joe Simpson saying that, and I agree with Joe, we were talking about one day, or I heard him on the air and I had talked to somebody else about it. I don't think there'd been baseball next year. I really don't. I think they would have just walked out this year, and the owners next year would have, if they didn't get their way next year, that they were going to hold out the whole year and change everything around. But I thought the players this time gave in a little bit, and that was good because, hey, let's work together on this thing. Average salary, $2 million a year, you ought to be able to live on that. In the 50s, just to give you an example, in the 50s, the minimum salary was $5,000. That's what you could make, $5,000 minimum. The minimum salary today is $300,000. If you made $75,000, you were a superstar in the 50s. But today, the minimum salary is $300,000. Everything is more, and I think that most of them feel that they're okay. I remember McGuire, the big home run hitter, and he retired last year, and he said, if I'm still playing and they have a strike, he said, I'm walking away. He said, if you can't live on $2 or $3 million a year, you're in trouble. But it wasn't just that. What it was is this revenue sharing plan. The Yankees pay $175 million in salaries. The revenue sharing means that over $100 million, they're going to have to pay tax on that money, and it would therefore take away some of the money that they could give to free agents. It's the same game, really, but the stakes are a lot higher. Right? Yeah.
Did you ever pitch in the World Series?
Yes, I pitched in 1957. I pitched 3 games in the World Series against the Yankees. I was in relief, and I allowed 1 run in about 8 or 9 innings. But the run I allowed, I kid Hank Aaron a lot of times. He hit me right. It was the 6th game of the World Series. Aaron hits a home run to tie the game at 2-2. I had pitched about 4 innings. Now in the bottom of the 7th, Hank Bauer, I hung a curveball to him. I used to come sidearm a lot, and I used to get it out there, and he couldn't hit it. Get it out there. You've often heard in the major leagues they hit mistakes. you make a mistake, they get it. And I hung the curveball, and he hit a line drive, hit the foul pole down the left field line, and that was the winning home run, hit the foul pole. Went about 300 feet at Yankee Stadium. But the other two games I pitched did okay. Didn't get in a World Series game in '58, but I often thought, remember just a few years back when the Yankees had the Braves 2 down, the Braves had the Yankees 2 down, everyone's going, well, we get this game, get this out, and everybody I met, I'd say, hey, we had the Yankees 3-1 in 1958. We needed one more win, and we couldn't win one. They beat us 3 straight, so they won out. The greatest thing in the world is getting in the World Series. So many players don't. So many players play all their lives and never get in the World Series. Okay?
What do you think they're going to do with Smoltz next year?
I hope they don't do it. What are they going to do with John Smoltz? I just hope they keep him right where he's going and let him be our savior. We don't win it without his saves, and try to get somebody else to be the starter. But who knows? They're talking about who they're going to trade, who they're going to not sign, Maddox or Gladden. They might sign them both. I just don't think it's an automatic that one of them's not going to be there. But it's strange. I remember talking to Stan Musial. Maybe it has to do with attitude and things. I remember talking to Stan Musial on a pregame show once, and this is for anybody who has anything to do with athletics. I asked Stan, I said, if you had a group of kids here and you wanted to tell them give them the best advice about how they can better themselves in baseball or any sport, I said, what would you tell them? He said, practice the things you don't do well. Doesn't that seem simple? Practice the things you don't do well. If you're a baseball player and you have a problem with fielding or something or hitting, you practice what you don't do well. He said a lot of times hitters, they just stand there all day and hit balls, but they should be out there practicing catching some of those balls. And same way with other athletes. I forget what, I have senior moments too. You know, I have senior moments. What was the other end of that question? What was the other end? Didn't someone ask me one?
I was actually like Smoltz.
Oh, I thought Smoltz. Yeah, he's going. I hope he's really. Oh, yeah, I hope Smoltz will stay there as a relief pitcher. Jason Marquis has the best stuff of a guy who doesn't seem haven't got it together yet. His stuff is major league, and he's going to get it together one year, and he's going to win 20 games every year. He's got good stuff. More questions? What's that? Moss the same. Damian Moss, he's just getting better. They've done some pretty good. See, if these guys, you don't even think about Smoltz if some of these guys step up. Right.
You did a lot of broadcasting work and commercial work, but did you ever get into voiceovers with networks and whatnot?
I did some voiceovers for some sponsors, not network, but I did some voiceover for sponsors. I used to do some Delta spots that they used around, and Milo Hamilton and I used to do a lot of the Delta spots, so I have done some voiceovers. And some people make a living doing voiceovers. There's so much to do with the broadcast. You don't have to be on the air. There's so many things to do in broadcasting. But voiceovers can be very lucrative, and there are people that's what they do. That's their living, doing voiceovers. Okay.
Who do you want in the World Series?
Who do I want? Who I think's going to win? I want the Braves. I want the Braves, but I just think I'll put it this way. Whoever beats the Yankees are going to be world champs. I did the Yankees. They're just tough. They got it, and they just keep getting more and more guys. They just keep running them out there. But they are tough. Anaheim is 1-1 with them. So, but I think beat the Yankees and you win the World Series. Any more? Okay, back in.
Do you ever see a time when baseball tickets are cost less? It's tough for the
cost of tickets.
It's outrageous.
Yeah, they are, and not just the cost of tickets. I was there last night and I had a hot dog. I mean, there's a few other things that are pretty costly too. They are long, they're foot longers, but that's not just that's. Don't write that down. Don't write that. Don't look make me look better. But any stadium you go in, things are high. I mean, you go anywhere, and hot dogs and Coke and beer, everything, they're pretty high. It's not just down here. But I don't know if ticket price will ever go down. See, this is why when they threaten to strike, and they settle the strike or show to get back to playing in order to make some revenue. Do you know the Braves lost money the last couple of years? They did. They lost money, drawing $2.5 million to $3 million. So they try to make back that money with ticket prices, but I don't think they're ever going to go back to what they were once. Right.
Two-part question. Number one, greatest player you've ever played against or seen. Number two, comparison of today's players against the players you played against.
Great. It's pretty hard to say the greatest player. Hank Aaron, as far as playing, I put Hank Aaron as good as anybody as an outfielder I played with or against. I know Ted Williams and all those other guys, but Aaron did everything well. He didn't only hit home runs, but he knocked in a lot of runs. He still got a lot of records. And he played every day. In order to get Aaron out of there, you had to break his leg. I mean, he played every day. He wasn't out of there because he had a sore throat or anything like that. So he and Matthews and those guys and Wieren, Spahn, it's hard. No, those are teammates, and I'm prejudiced. But I know in the 50s there were a lot of great Hall of Famers. The players of today versus the players of yesterday, we all had one-year contracts. So doggone it, you had to be hurt to get out of there because you wanted to have a good year, so you get another one-year contract. I think sometimes maybe today multiple-year contracts might hurt as far as the players playing as many games. We had a lot of complete games because we wanted to have that as ammunition to get another one-year contract. Wieren, Spahn sometimes have 25 complete games by himself. There was no automatic coming out in the 6th or 7th inning. And the bullpen set up differently. As I mentioned, middle relief pitcher, if I went in the 2nd inning and if I could get him out, I'd pitch the rest of the game. There was no, that is what's different. But the players themselves are bigger. I'm not one of those guys in the old days that said they don't play it like they used to. Athletes are bigger and stronger and better than they ever were. We might have a few more better teams because we only had 16 teams in those days versus 30 now. But athletes in all sports are bigger and better and stronger. And some guys could play in the 1950s, some couldn't. But we are. When I look at some of these high school football teams that with a line average of 250 or something like that, and 300 in colleges, that's unheard of. And then guys playing basketball 7 feet. So everything is better as far as that goes. We might have a few better teams though in baseball because we only had 8 in the National League and 8 in the American League. Okay, how long do you want me to go? Okay, well I can stay, I live in Crabapple. I can stay here all night. I mean, I only got a few more miles to go. Right. Favorite Braves player now? That puts you on the spot. There are so many. There are so many. I can say 2 of my favorite all-time Braves players is Dale Murphy and Phil Negro. And just humble, very successful guys. But I like any of the players that hustle. I think Bobby Cox has done a great job, and they have camaraderie in their clubhouse. Now, you might not think that's important, but camaraderie in the clubhouse is very, very important. And they've got a good mix down there right now, and it helps them win some ball games. You had a question over here? Oh, okay. Any more? Right.
How did you feel about John Rocker?
Yeah, did you hear? John Rocker got released today by the Texas Rangers. Well, John had himself to blame for some of it, but I think some of the media blew it out of context too. But he wouldn't let up, and he was one of the best relief pitchers in baseball when he was right. But if he could have just backed off a little bit, and maybe it wouldn't have been as tough on himself, but he could handle it while he was pitching well. But I think John Rocker, if you ask a baseball coach right now, he might say that he's lost a little bit off his fastball. I don't think he throws as hard as he did with the Braves. And so he's throwing a few more breaking balls. Because Lord knows the way he used to throw with the Braves, if he were still throwing that way, he would not be released by the Texas Rangers. I hope he gets back in, because I know Johnny's not a bad guy. Things upset him. He got upset in that, and I think the guy gave him a bum rap on that article too. I think that some of that was uncalled for. Any more? My favorite pitch? Well, I had a fastball, curve, and a slider, and but I had a changeup, which is a palm ball. I used to hold it with these two fingers, and you could throw it as hard as you wanted, but it wouldn't go. And so we throw everything is supposed to be thrown the same motion. I threw that palm ball, it would go up and kind of die, nothing to it, and die. And that probably was my best pitch. The fastball was fast enough, but not real fast. But the other thing about hitting and pitching is that if the hitter is not looking for your fastball and you throw it to him and he can still hit it, then you don't have a good fastball. They didn't have. I never saw a clock in the 50s for the fastball, or we didn't have any speed guns. Right.
Do you like any other sports?
I played professional basketball when I was a kid for 3 years in what was called the Eastern League or the American League in Connecticut. That was kind of a minor league to the NBA. And I managed to get up 1 year, 3 years I was playing minor league baseball and minor league basketball. And I was getting killed in basketball for $40 or $50 a game, cut up. And I was 6'4", and I was supposed to be, I was pretty tall. And today, 6'4", they put you in the backcourt. But I played about 3 years, and then I decided to concentrate on baseball. And in high school, I played, there's one thing about my mother and father, they knew where I was. I played 4 sports in high school. I played baseball, basketball, football, and track. And see, today they won't do that sometimes. Sometimes if you're a football player, they won't allow you to play certain other, of course, when you're in Vermont, you only played about 11 baseball games. There was snow on the ground until May. But played about 4 and enjoyed them all. And I just say my parents knew where I was all the time. Tired usually, and then on the court. Any more? I'm going to let you one more.
What did you run in track?
No, in track I was a broad jumper, and I can't run, but for some reason I could jump, and I held a Vermont broad jump record for a while. I went 21-1 in high school, and then I would fool around with high jumps and all that stuff, but the broad jump was what I did. I've been talking long enough. I think I see a few people going like this, and I've been talking long enough. I'll get you out. Okay.
Who was the hardest hitter you ever faced?
Hardest hitter? Toughest hitter I ever faced was Ted Kluszewski, and I faced Willie Mays, and I faced Stan Musial and Williams and all. Ted Kluszewski was a big guy, and I'll close with this. He was a big guy, big arms, and he played for Cincinnati, and his arms were so big they had to cut the sleeves on his shirt. And that's true, they did. They brought him out. So one day, I'm pitching against Kluszewski, and I couldn't get him out. So one day I thought maybe I'll try to pitch him inside a little bit. And he hit a ball that went right by the foul pole, foul by about that much. And my temper got the best of me, and sometimes that happens. You get out there, if you're competitive, your temper just, takes over. And I'm standing out there, and I was like, big son of a... I got the next ball, and I said, son of a gun, big son of a gun, big son of a gun. I hit the ball, and I said, what shall I do with it? I said, I'll throw it behind him. He'll never expect it there, and he won't be able to hit it either. So he's standing up there, and I threw it. If I'd ever hit him in the arm, it would have bounced back and hit me. I said, that's how big he was. He was huge. Football player, I thought, and a tough hitter for everybody. Even Spahn hit him. Anyway, next pitch, he's standing there. I threw it right behind him. Bang! It hits the backstop, and he's looking out at me. So I'm ready to go over behind Eddie Matthews if there's a fight, because Matthews could beat anybody up. So I told Eddie, I said, I might be over there if he comes after me. So now he hits a ground, the next pitch, I throw him a palm ball, and he hits a ground ball wide of first. Joe Adcock's our first baseman. He goes over and backhands it. And you know who's going to cover first? Me, I'm heading for first, and I can't run. I'm heading for first, and I got there just ahead of the throw, and I touched the base, and I pulled my foot up, and Kluszewski's, bang, he came right down on that base, and he was trying to spike me. And I didn't say, and then he gave me a few more choice words. He even got into my ancestry, you know. And I said, okay, Ted, all right, Ted. Anyway, it was all said and done, and we didn't get in a fight or anything like that. I'm glad we didn't. But it was a bit of temper that got it, and I don't think I had any better luck with him after that either, but he was just one of the tough hitters of all time for me to get out, and he stood up on a plate, and he took up the whole batting spot. All right, I've been long enough. You guys want to go home? It's Friday. Maybe, can you get a jump on it if you leave now? I don't know. Will they let you leave early? Will they let you leave early here or not? Thanks a lot, and back to play.
I wanted to be, Requiem for a Dream was my favorite movie. Don't watch it by yourself.
Yeah, don't watch it by yourself.
I did. It was just
Charismatic and it's angry and it's sweet and it's nasty, it's like pussy, and he has to amputate his arm.
They amputated his arm at the shoulder because it spread so far.
Please let me know.
Come what?
What do you want? Let's go on Dixie. Oh,
My mom is the biggest Rocky fan in the world. She made me watch that when I was like 11. I didn't even know what a transvestite was. I was like, Mom, why is he in a corset? She's like, I thought that was a man. She's like, I'll understand later.
I'm going to go see. I'm going to go see Taste Like Bernie.
It's whatchamanic. Yes, when he is in the new WWE show. I'm sorry, but I wish my legs were like that.
Yeah, I do.
Sorry, 2 months ago. We have to eat a lunch meeting.
I thought it's
Oh yeah.
Where?
But no, because then I have to wear a big V on my head. My mom gets like a W because she's a rap big before. She's seen it like 5 times live. I'm a
Are you really?
No, I'm not putting a big V on my head.
I didn't have to. I'll put a big D on my
I'll
head.
put a big V. Because you know what, you get a lot more shit that way. People like feel bad for you and they're like, okay, wait, I do. No, what did you do? Tell me now. Tell me now. Close your ears.
radio and TV at the same time so she can hear you. You know, when you move from place to place without change. There you go.
Yeah, I did. He did. After that.
There you go.
Okay, I came out one day.
Oh, yeah.
Wait out here.
It's almost that bad.
One of Chris's classes.
You have a son in Portland, too.
They were still working on but he's a pretty good hitter too.
I'll see you.
That's the only one I can think of.
Okay.
We waited for you.
I remember about this. One of those that, boy, shirt, sleeves off,
Not in this chair. There's another chair.
Hunter Baldwin, please come to the attendance office. Hunter Baldwin, to the attendance office, please.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Now, I know I've run you to death, but can I pick one? I know you are. I'm worn out. Oh, my God. All right, well, whichever you'd rather do. Okay, if you don't mind, that'd be great.
No, they're gonna give me 3. Last.
Wherever you like.
Maybe it was just some collection. Yeah. Oh, my brother, no, my brother's not. No, I'm not here. My brother. Yeah, he's doing that. I see him. I see him. I see him.
Pictures of all right on Yeah, it was. I was really technical. Yeah, okay.
I just wanted to say that Don, Joe, and Skip, y'all like some of the best announcers I've heard. And I just kids, you really want to tell you that. And also, I had one question that you had that. What do you think? She really should be in the Hall of Fame, even though like considering that's what I think.
Cleve Art, please report to room 1126. Cleve Art, room 1126.
Okay.
Mr. Johnson?
Yeah.
I know I've run you to death. Can I get a picture? And then I'll leave you alone.
Let's do it
No, this is gonna
before,
be fun.
before more people get in here.
More people. Oh, we'll do it.
No, 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 no. No, this is good.
Pretty bad. Yeah, I like that. A little skew, just like.
All right. Hey, where's Tom? Okay.
Mark's out front, so I guess he stood out here all night. He's out in mobile, so I don't know which one. There's one that used to be ROTC.
Maybe I'll go out to this town.
Yeah, actually, they'll probably come down.
Yeah.
You know where her room is. We'll actually talk one day.
Hey,
Have
Mark.
a conversation.
Hey, what are you doing for the game tomorrow?
We're just gonna watch it at our house. You're welcome to come over if you want.
Greg's coming to town, so I'm trying to get this, we're trying to do something to watch it. So.
Yeah, well, you know where I live.
Alright,
Come
cool.
on over. I think there's gonna be like 4 or 5 of us over there. Bring the wife with you too.
She's gonna be with me.
Now, you've had plenty of excitement, but we will track you down.
I had my pocket though, which is
Okay, yes,
unusual.
I'm quite pleased. You have a good weekend.
Thanks.
Very good.
Oh, it was great. He was so wonderful.